So in part two, we basically began to actually look at working with layers in a basic way. In this part three, we're looking to work with layers again, but kind of looking at them, how they're getting used. So if we kind of went step by step in from the last film, we were looking at how the different layers interact with each other. So let me just unclick those a minute. So as I overlay a black over something else, it'll start to interact in a different way with the layers above and below. In other words, anything that is above it, if it's been set to a certain blend mode, will slightly have a different reaction to it as it then goes through it in the pass through, and then it will give us a little bit of a difference in change. So as far as this kind of mode is concerned, we're looking to actually position and change the different areas within the photograph. So if we just get rid of those for 1 minute, and now we let me just get rid of that set as well, and we just look at this image by itself. If we control J, which is again, as I said, the most powerful shortcut I think in the whole of Photoshop, because pretty much you'll be using layers the whole time. But if we now switch this into a multiply mode, it's going to darken the base picture. If we put it into screen mode, it's going to lighten the base picture with it. So as far as the kind of the most common use that we're going to have, it's always going to really be around multiplying screen 50–60% of the time when we're using these layer effects, especially when we're getting going with Photoshop. So what I want to do in this film though is look at it as we would use it for effect, so in use as it were. So in Photoshop 1, we kind of began to look at the auto tone, auto contrast, and auto color. And you might think, well, this is a perfect time for us to apply the auto color, because obviously all the blue kind of coloring behind. And you would think that it would fix all that, but it won't. It will kind of average it out. That's what it's trying to do. If I really want to actually fix this color, I would go into some way to control the actual coloring, and a quick way to be able to do that would be through either an adjustment layer, where we can basically kind of control things. Yes, so as far as if we pick on the levels and we kind of pick on the middle picker here and we pick up gray, that will kind of now try and clean everything that is in the image back to a neutral grey as such, really. Okay, but this adjustment layer basically is not detrimental to the layer that it's affecting, because this alone can be removed. Yes, when we use layers in its own right, so instead of as an adjustment, we use it basically just going into Control L for layers. Yes, and we come up into the middle picker again. If we now pick onto the blue area here, which we know is a neutral white wall, but it's been shot under a tungsten mode, as that's why it gives us this blue with flash. We can see it's doing a very good job of correcting the actual image. However, as soon as I press OK to this, we're now in a destructive image. So basically, when we're working with layers, when we're working with a file that in its working life is going to be in a multi-layered document, we would want to use one of the adjustment layers here. Okay, so in other words, if we just delete that again, if we wanted to apply that effect in some way, we would click onto the adjustments, then click onto whatever we were trying to adjust, in this case the grey, go in and actually click onto the area of grey that you want, and then pretty much it's adjustable. It means that we can kind of go back to it at any stage by double clicking onto this adjustment, and I can kind of change it once more, or I can get rid of it. If I affect the layer itself with the likes of the adjustments, so if I went into image, adjust, and we use that levels, yeah, basically clicking onto that grey point again, it's a destruction and we're losing the information. If you are ever going to do things like that, I'd recommend that you duplicate your layer first, then work in the image and the adjustment and then the levels to change white point, gray point, whatever you would do. Okay, but at least then you have the ability to basically throw it away. So you've got a chance of kind of bringing back some of the information itself. Oh, I'm not really here to talk about that today, all right? But the adjustment layers are really, really powerful here, including black and white and levels and gradient maps and so on with it, as well as sharpening and the likes of brightness and contrast within the image and so on. I want us to go straight into the image though now and basically create. Yes, so this is another photograph of an old master kind of background. Yep, and I want to actually put it on top of the other image, and I want to affect the actual background behind her and limit what it does to the actual subject itself. So there's several ways for me to kind of put this image on top of her. I could simply drag it off screen and drop it onto her from a file or a folder, and then it would automatically place the image itself on top. You'd have a bounding box, which would be then your choice to kind of, let me just, so I have it here, yeah, and if I just drop it on top of the image, you can see these bounding boxes that are there. The image is slightly taller than this actually background is, so I can just make it bigger and I can move it around and so on. So I've basically placed it on top, and you can see as I place it on top, in fact, this automatically turns this background into a special type of layer called a smart object, and the smart object is intelligent. It basically allows us to do something to it, and it also allows us to have the likes of adjustments, color changes and so on within the image itself. We'll cover this a long time in the future, as it were, where we're looking at smart objects for smart swapping and things like that. But anyway, look, we've got our background on top, so that was one way to do it. So I'm just going to delete that for now. Okie doke. The other way is if it's already open, you can basically drag it and then hover over the tab of the image you want to drag it onto, and basically you can let go. Now if you just let go, it's going to put it anywhere. Now this happens to be in a different color space, all right, to the actual the destination one, so it's okay for now. We're just going to ignore that, but you can see as I let go, it basically puts it anywhere. All right, if I did exactly the same thing, drag it in, it's going to still give me the warning box, okay, but ignore that. But if I press the shift key, it drops it in the middle, so now it kind of fills the screen. So it was big enough to begin with, except when I dragged it on, it was binding the width to the sides of the image, which obviously it was narrower, so it didn't actually give it a chance to actually kind of fully fill the image itself. So we're there. So we're working with these layers now. The next thing that we want to do is use a blend layer to basically change it. So in other words, from this top one, let's just double click it to rename it. The reality is that once you start working heavily within Photoshop, you'll probably never change the name of the layer until you've got so many layers you don't know actually what everything is. But when it's good practice when you're getting going to actually do it. So let's look at the way that this now is going to change its blend mode. So if we jump straight to multiply in screen, so multiply is going to affect the darks, the base image, and the screen is going to affect the lights. So because this is a dark on dark, the multiply option is a better option for us. Okay, so if I just click on the multiply now, straight away we've got the texture kind of run across. Now you might choose the likes of vivid light for more contrast with it. You can kind of play to your heart's content on here, but in this case we want the texture on the background. That's really what we're going for. All right, now if we just press the space bar and we kind of move the image around, so while I press the space bar, the hand tool comes up and I'm using the scroll on my mouse to move in and out. If not, obviously you would press the Z for the zoom key, and then you would basically either move to the right to zoom in, move to the left to zoom out, yes, or in my case, as I said, I'm using the scroll key up and down. V key on the keyboard selects the move tool. Okay, space bar is the actual the kind of the moving around the image without moving them themselves. So with here now, we've got exactly what we're trying to do. We've got that lovely background effect going on, but it's going over the face, and we don't want that. Okay, so in this case we're going to use for the first time a layer mask. Now if we just click onto the layers palette, and just down here you've got this icon which has got a hole in the middle, and if we click onto that, it's going to add a mask to the right hand side of the actual image. Now technically white, as we can see here, reveals all of the effect. So in other words, it shows all of the actual gradient across the whole image. If we had basically, let's just delete that one. Yep. If we press the Alt key whilst we click it, it creates a black mask. And with a black mask, it reveals nothing. So in other words, it hides. So white reveals, black hides. If you remember that to begin with. So in this case, because we want more of the effect, we don't really want the black mask. We want the white mask. So just click onto there again. And now we want to do is actually take the face away. So in other words, reduce the amount of texture on the face itself. So you can see, because I just clicked on the mask, it has the mask selected. If I had this selected, and I'm going to kind of apply the technique in a minute, I'll show you painting, it would actually paint on the on the background itself. I don't want that. I want it to actually paint on the mask. So we want to actually paint this effect away. So a couple of things to do at this point is press B for brush. Brush is over here on the tool palette, as you can see. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is press D, which is default, which now puts white on top and black below. And that's good, especially if you've been using colors or grays or whatever it would be. Okay, we want that back to default. And at this point, we want to press X to put black on top. Remember, we want to actually hide the effect on the face because the mask is white and showing all of the effect. By using the black now, we can start to actually paint away the actual texture that is being put onto the face itself. If we want to change the size of the brush, we can either right click and choose the size change here, and then actually start clicking on and wiping away again. Or we can use the right bracket on the keyboard to start to actually kind of show more and more and things really. So straight away now you can start to see that all we've done is actually taken away the effect on the face in that top part here. In the same way, if I just press X now, I paint it back in again. Okay, so X, black on top, paints away, and we have that whole kind of effect on the image itself. Notice though, in the top of my adjustments here, okay, this is to do with the brush here, the opacity is set to 49%. Avoid from using 100% straight away. Build it up in sections so you have a natural kind of feathering out of the kind of reveal, and it'll just help you more and more than kind of avoiding the hard edges and things really. So as far as this is concerned, we've got a great look overall, and The only other thing would be is you using any of the adjustment layers to create yourself a kind of a look and a feel and things really. So again, things like going into a solid color, it's really down to you what you're trying to kind of create and change the effects with anyway. Okay, so we've just gone through the basics of how layers work together. If you multiply, it darkens. If you screen, it lightens. And we can change the way that they interact together. If I wanted a adjustment, so as far as if I wanted a kind of a black and white effect here, you can see how this is adjusting the whole image now. If I want it to affect just the actual layer of the background, I can press and hold my Alt key, and then basically it just affects this master background here. If I press the Alt key again, it separates them back to normal. And remember, as far as the stacking is concerned, we can move these layer stacks to any position. So in this case, you can see now if I basically put it just to the one below, it won't have any effect here, of course, but basically it's now giving us a kind of a sepia image and things really, but the black and white texture isn't being applied. So in other words, you can see, because I've hidden the color or hidden the texture here, the girl looks grey in the face, but the rest of the image is black and white. That is because if I click off that text on the top, she is black and white because we've put that adjustment layer in there. If I switch the old master background back on again, but now I switch off this black and white adjustment layer, we can see that we've got the full color restored and things really. All right. So again, if we want to affect just one element, I can basically just press the Alt key with the adjustment layer and just get it to affect the one below and things really. So you might think, well, why would I be using that? It could be that you're having a lighter background you want, but you don't want to affect the girl below. Then basically we're going to just click on so it affects the kind of level. So you can see here what I just did with that one, I lightened the background by using adjustment. So from here again, I can change it darker or lighter, increase the contrast. But really what I'm doing is I'm affecting the whole of the layers. So in that kind of working with layers, we've done several things there. We talked about the most popular blend modes, which is either multiply or going to be screen. Yes. So for instance, if we were using a different image, like we have a light background here, the background itself will work better in the blend mode in a slightly different way. In this case, I used a linear burn. I could use it as screen, but that'll actually affect over the front of the image and things really. But it's what are we trying to change within our photograph? That's what we've got to look at. So in the same way again, linear dodge, linear burn, whichever you're trying to affect in the image, will all be adjusted through the actual blend modes itself. But in the starting point, think about the way that the book is put together, the cover, the pages, how they kind of dissolve and see each other, and then basically how they interact with each other depends on the intensity of the kind of effect that we're applying. Hope you enjoyed this film. See you on the next one.